What if I told you that there's one specific number that completely transforms your relationship with money, a number that separates those who struggle financially from those who build real wealth? That number is $100,000. Getting to that first $100,000 is absolutely difficult. It's the hardest money you'll ever save. But once you cross that threshold, something magical happens. Your money starts working harder for you than you work for your money today. I'm going to show you exactly why reaching your first $100,000 in investments is the most important financial milestone of your life. We'll explore why it's so challenging to get there, how compound interest becomes your best friend after you hit this mark, and the practical strategies you can use. Starting today to accelerate your journey, by the end of this video, you'll understand why Charlie Munger famously said that getting your first $100,000 is tough, but you absolutely have to do it because everything changes after that. The brutal truth about your first $100,000. Let me start with a story that might sound familiar. Meet Peter. He's 28 years old, makes $65,000 a year, and has been trying to save money for the past 5 years. He's managed to put away about $15,000, but it feels like he's running on a treadmill every month. He saves a few $100s, but it never seems to add up to anything meaningful. Peter represents millions of Americans who are stuck in what I call the savings trap. They're doing everything right. They're budgeting, cutting expenses, and putting money away, but they're not seeing the exponential growth they've heard about. Why the first 100,000 is so challenging. Here's why Peter and millions like him are struggling. When you're starting from zero, compound interest is practically invisible. Let's say Peter saves $500 every month and invested at a 7% return after 1 year. He has $6,000 in contributions plus about $200 in interest. That $200 feels like nothing compared to the $6,000 he worked so hard to save. After 2 years, he has $12,000 in contributions and about $800 in total interest. Still feels like peanuts, right? This is where most people get discouraged. They think investing doesn't work. But here's what Peter doesn't realize. He's building the foundation for something incredible every dollar he saves. Now is setting up a future where his money will do most of the heavy lifting. The mathematical reality is this. It takes approximately 7.8 years to save your first $100,000 if you're putting away $10,000 per year at a 7% return. That's nearly 8 years of grinding while seeing relatively small returns. But here's where it gets interesting. How compound interest accelerates after $100,000. Once Peter hits that $100,000 mark, saving his next $100,000 will only take about 5.1 years. The third $100,000, just 3.8 years. The fourth, only 3 years. This isn't magic, this is mathematics. There are three main reasons why reaching your first $100,000 feels impossible. The first reason is psychological. We live in a world of instant gratification. You can order food and have it delivered in 30 minutes, but wealth building takes years of delayed gratification with very little visible progress. When you're saving your first $100,000, you're essentially paying your future self. But your future self can't thank you today. This psychological challenge stops more people than any financial obstacle ever could. The second reason is what I call the contribution dominance phase. When you're starting out, your monthly contributions completely dominate your returns. If you're saving $1,000 per month and your investments are returning $50 per month, those returns feel meaningless. You're doing 95% of the work, and compound interest is doing 5%. The third reason is the most overlooked. Most people don't have a clear understanding of what $100,000 actually represents. It's the point where compound interest stops being lame and starts being life-changing at $100,000 invested at a 7% return. You're earning about $7,000 per year in investment returns. That's $583 per month that you didn't have to work for. Many people, that's a car payment or a significant portion of their rent. But here's the beautiful part: that $7,000 gets reinvested, which means next year you're earning returns on $107,000, then $114,490, then $122,504. The snowball effect has officially begun. Let me show you exactly what happens to your wealth after you cross the $100,000 threshold. Remember our example of saving $10,000 per year at a 7% return. Let's follow that journey all the way to $1 million years 1 through 7.8. You're grinding to reach your first $100,000. You're contributing $78,400 of your own money, and compound interest is contributing about $21,600. You're doing most of the heavy lifting years, 7.8 through 12.9. You're working toward your second $100,000 now. You're contributing another $51,000, but compound interest is contributing about $49,000. The work is starting to balance out years, 12.9 through 16.7. You're building your third $100,000. You contribute $38,000, but compound interest contributes $62,000 for the first time. Compound interest is doing more work than you are. By the time you reach $500,000, your investments are generating about $35,000 per year in returns. That's more than 3 times your annual contribution. When you finally reach $1 million, your investments are generating about $70,000 per year. That's 7 times more than you're contributing. This is why wealthy people seem to get wealthier so quickly. It's because they've crossed the compound interest threshold, where their money works harder than they do, the psychology of wealth building. But let's talk about the psychological transformation that happens when you reach $100,000. When you have $100,000 invested, you start thinking differently about money. You stop seeing every dollar as something to spend. Start seeing it as something that can multiply. You develop what psychologists call an abundance mindset. You also develop patience. You've already proven to yourself that you can delay gratification for years. You've built the mental muscle that separates wealth builders from everyone else. Having $100,000 gives you options. You can take calculated risks in your career because you have a financial cushion. You can make decisions based on what's best for your future, not just what pays the bills today. Practical strategies to accelerate your journey. Now let's get into the practical strategies you can use, starting today to reach your first $100,000 faster strategy. Number 1 is income optimization. Most people focus entirely on cutting expenses, but there's a limit to how much you can cut. There's no limit to how much you can earn. Start by maximizing your current income. Are you contributing enough to get your full employer match in your 401k? That's free money. Are you taking advantage of health savings accounts and other benefits? Next, look for ways to increase your income. This could mean asking for a raise, switching jobs, or developing skills that make you more valuable. Consider developing side income streams through freelancing or consulting strategy. Number 2 is expense optimization. The goal is to cut expenses that don't add value to your life while maintaining spending on things that do. Track every expense for 1 month. Look for subscriptions you forgot about and spending patterns that don't align with your values. Focus on the big 3 expenses: housing, transportation, and food. Small changes in these areas have massive impacts. But here's the key: don't cut expenses just to cut expenses. Cut expenses to redirect that money toward your $100,000 goal. Strategy number 3 is investment optimization for most people. Low-cost index funds are the best choice. They're diversified, have low fees, and don't require you to pick individual stocks. Automate your investments. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your investment account. Take advantage of tax-advantaged accounts like your 401k and Roth IRA. The right mindset to maintain discipline. Let's talk about the mindset that will carry you through the challenging years before you reach $100,000 first. Understand that this is a marathon, not a sprint. You're building sustainable wealth that will last for decades. Second, focus on systems, Not goals. Instead of obsessing over reaching 100,000, obsess over your monthly savings rate and automating your investments. Third, celebrate small wins when you reach $10,000. Celebrate when you reach $25,000. Celebrate these milestones. Prove that your system is working. Fourth, educate yourself continuously. Read books about investing and personal finance. The more you understand about money, the more confident you'll become. Finally, surround yourself with like-minded people. Find friends who are also building wealth. Avoid people who constantly complain about money but never take action. Once you reach $100,000, what changes? After $100,000, everything changes. Mathematically, compound interest becomes a significant force in your wealth. Building your money starts doing more of the work psychologically. You develop confidence and patience. You understand how compound interest works because you've experienced it. You're less likely to make emotional financial decisions. Practically, you have options. You can take more risks in your career and invest in opportunities that might not be available to people with smaller amounts of capital. So what should you do? Your next steps right now today to start your journey toward $100,000. First, calculate your current net worth. Add up all your assets and subtract all your debts. Second, set up automatic investments, even if you can only start with $100 per month. Start the habit is more important than the amount. Third, focus on increasing your income. Update your resume, develop new skills, or start a side hustle. Fourth, optimize your expenses, track your spending, and identify areas where you can redirect money toward your investments. The journey to your first $100,000 won't be easy. It will require sacrifice, discipline, and patience, but it's absolutely worth it. Because once you cross that threshold, you'll have built the foundation for a lifetime of financial freedom. Remember, the first $100,000 is the difficult, but it's also the most important. Every wealthy person had to cross this threshold. There are strategies to get there faster, and you now know what they are.